I think my take on being a army wife, which I don't really identify as an army wife. I'm a wife whose husband happens to be in the army. But I think that the way that I feel about it is a little different just because I was in the army when I met my husband.
You're a rebel, getting into trouble. You are kind of like a fire, like a fire, like a fire.
Good morning. So I just realized that I had not picked up the camera all day long. So we haven't really been doing anything. Everybody went to school or work. My dad and my brother went to work on a house. So my kids and me and the kids are just here at my parents' house. We're actually getting dressed because I'm about to take the kids to go and see my mom at work. I'm going to take her coffee because she really likes Starbucks and she can't leave right now. So I'm about to take her to Starbucks. Tayce is right here. Tayce is right here. She just ate and went to sleep, which is why now is the perfect time. Her outfit actually came from TJ Maxx. Her headband came from Old Navy and her shoes came from Carter's, I believe. Tariq is right here. Turn around, Bubba. Say hi.
Hi.
He actually has on Children's Place from head to toe. You can't see his shirt, but his shirt actually says, I think the rules. I can't remember. I'll show it to you all later. And then his shoes are also from Children's Place. I just have on like this duster right here with a black shirt and some black leggings and black boots. Black is my color right now, just because it goes with everything, and I really like this wine colored duster. So that's what I'm wearing today. I'm about to get everybody loaded up in the car, and then I will try to vlog as we go. I'm going to try to put my dashboard mount up today, so we'll see if I get that done. And then we may go to Target later or Children's Place once my mom gets off, but I'll see how she's feeling because working a full day, I don't know if she's going to want to go out. But come here so I can see your shirt. What's your shirt say? I see the rules as more of rough guidance. What are you eating, a sucker? Is it good? Here, you want to see yourself? There you go. Look.
Yeah.
Say hello.
Hello. Haha. It's there.
What's over there?
And the
Is your toy over there?
yes, the dog.
You got back up. There you go.
Uncle.
Uncle?
It's a purple. It's a purple. It's a purple.
Yeah.
Down.
Hey guys, so we just got back from going to see my mom. I went to Starbucks, got her coffee, and then went to her bank. So we just got back from doing that. My dad and my brother, I think, are about to go to my uncle's house and work on his house now. So me and the kids are just gonna hang out here still. So I think that we might go out once. I think we might go out once my mom gets home. I'm not 100% sure though, because she doesn't get off until like 5:30-ish. So I don't know if she'll be in the mood to go out. I was gonna go to Target, but there were like a billion people. I thought that everybody would be at work today since it's like Monday, you know, 10 o'clock. But no, there were a billion people. Not a billion, but there were a lot of people at Target. I was just going to look for an Etch-a-Sketch from my son and my niece, because my son has one at the preschool that he goes to and he really likes it. So I wanted to get him one for Christmas. I'll probably just order it on Amazon, but we're just gonna hang out here. That's Uncle. Okay, we're just gonna hang out here until later, guys. So it's been a little while since I picked the camera up last. I've just been sort of hanging out with the kiddos. Tariq and I just came back in from outside. He's right here eating his nugget. Say hey, Bubba.
Hi.
And then Tayce is right here. She should be taking a nap, but of course she's fighting sleep. So I just wanted to pick up the camera real quick and just sort of chit chat, because this vlog is probably going to end after this, just because I don't think that we're going to do anything else tonight other than just hang out with family. But I just sort of wanted to talk about what it's like being an army wife. I get asked that a lot by people, and I don't know if it's because they put army wives in like a separate category, or if it's just, if the question really means like, how does your husband feel about being in the military? I think that the way that I feel about it is a little bit different, just because I at one point was in the military. But like I tell other people, for me, it's not real. I don't think that it's any different from being just married. Like, people have the same issues that non-military families have, military families have. The added stress comes from, you know, not knowing if you're going to be in the same place for more than 3 years, or not really being able, you don't really have a choice in where you go. So I guess that could be a little bit stressful. But I think for me, it's not as stressful, only because stop, Bubba, don't roll that right there. Because my dad was in the military, so I actually grew up moving a lot. I didn't stay at one, don't throw it. I didn't stay at one school for the entire time that a student should be at that school until I got to high school. That was my first time where I completed all years at one high school. Every other year we were moving around. So I just kind of got used to that lifestyle. So I think for me now, it doesn't cause me very much stress. It's my husband's career at this point. So wherever he needs to go, or wherever the Army is going to send him, if it's going to work for his career, that's where we're going to go. And I mean, when I married him, I knew that he was in the military. So it's not like one day we were, you know, dating and he worked at Walmart, and then the next day he showed up and told me that we were moving. Like, that didn't happen. Because I think that it's really important that you communicate, no matter what kind of marriage you're in, whether it's a military family or whether you're, you know, a non-military family. You have to communicate with your spouse or your significant other if you're going to make a decision like that. But I think I'm very much a believer in, you have to do what's going to work for you and what's going to get you to a place in your life where you want to be. And if you're with someone who doesn't want to go with you, or who doesn't believe in whatever it is that you want to do for yourself, then at that point you all have to talk about where you're going next. Because if my husband wanted to join the military, if he weren't already in the military, if he wanted to join the military and I was like, well, I don't want to be a military wife, well, I have to put that aside because this is something that he wants to do, and I believe in supporting him in things that will help him to grow as a person. Because I believe that if there's something that I would like to do, I would love that same support from my spouse. Because if my spouse isn't my biggest supporter after myself, what are we bringing to the table for each other? So again, like I said, I think my take on being a Army wife, which I don't really identify as an Army wife. I'm a wife whose husband happens to be in the Army. But I think that the way that I feel about it is a little different, just because I was in the Army when I met my husband, and I had already lived the Army life as a child. So marrying someone who was in the Army didn't scare me, because I had seen my dad leave. My dad would come back. Like, he deployed quite a bit. So to be married to someone in the Army, I knew what that meant. I knew that meant that there could be deployments. I knew that meant after 3 years we could move. I knew that meant late nights, because I had done it myself. So it wasn't a shock to me. It wasn't a surprise. It doesn't stop me from living my life, because I still get to do things that I want to do. It doesn't have batteries, but oh, bless you. I still get to do things that I want to do. Yes, you know, it can be a little stressful just getting orders and realizing that you now have to like start your life again in a new place. But I think that if you're starting your life again in a new place, as long as you and your spouse have talked about like what that means, are you going to have a job right away, that type of thing, then I think I look at it as sort of a new adventure. My husband and I were in North Carolina together, and then when I was going through my retirement, he actually got orders to come to Virginia. And so there wasn't a lot of time between when I actually got my orders for retirement and when he got his orders for Virginia and when he was supposed to report. So it all happened in December, and then we had to report to his duty. Well, we got our orders before December, but all of the out processing and briefings and all of that happened in like November, December. And then I had to take leave because I had leave that I needed to use before I got out. So I needed to do that. We needed to figure out when he was going to take leave, where we were going to stay, when our house was going to get packed up, all of that. And luckily, you know, we didn't move far, but the logistics of it all, because I was getting out, it made it a little bit tougher because I couldn't do the things that he may have needed me to do because I was worried about, I had to figure out my own, like ending my own career at that point. So well, I like to think of it as just another, it's not an obstacle, but just another thing that you navigate when you're married. Like if I were married to a police officer, that would come with its own set of stressors. I think just being married to someone who's in the Army, it just brings different stressors. So you do worry about, is your unit going to be deploying soon? Are you going to go, you know, to the box? Where are we going in 3 years? But for me, I like to make the most out of the situation. So when we moved to Virginia, I originally took a few months off to sort of get myself together, have a little bit of a break from the stress of the month before. And then I started, well, I didn't really take a break. I started school the day after we actually officially moved to Virginia and got our stuff. So we came up one weekend before we left North Carolina, Fort Bragg. We came up one weekend. We found an apartment. We did the whole lease thing back and forth on the phone and through email. And then we came to North Carolina to spend, well, we came to near Charlotte to spend the holidays with my family. And then we drove to Virginia. So we stayed with my parents for a little bit, and then we drove to Virginia, where we were stationed. We were at our apartment. We planned it so that our stuff would get there the same day that we arrived. So our stuff got there about maybe an hour after we got there. And then I actually had to go to my school to like get an ID, a parking pass, figure out where my classes were, pick up my books. So I had to do all of that in one day, and then my classes started that very next day. He still had a few days of leave, so he was actually at home while I was going to class. And then I think that was January, and then in February I actually started working for the school that I attended. I was working as a work study in the military office, and then I did that until August, and then August 1st I officially was a full-time I was a full-time certifying official at the school. So I didn't take that much of a break as far as like not doing anything, just relaxing. But I think that I was afforded that opportunity, and I sort of I wasn't ready to take it at that point, which is, I mean, it's fine. And I think that as a wife in general, not just a military wife, or just as a spouse in general, even you have to figure out how to live your life while being with someone else, because it's no longer just it's not all about you at that point. And so I think that when I was in the Army, I took for granted, and before we got married, I I was doing my own thing, like making choices that would help my career, and he supported those choices. So we had already talked about I was in sort of in the last stages of applying for a special assignment. And so we had talked about, you know, what he was going to do. He was talking to his branch manager, and then we found out that I was going to be retired. And so that sort of just, it knocked the wind out of me, because I had planned to be in the Army for as long as they would allow me, and that option was taken away from me. But throughout all of that, he was there. So he was the person that I was, you know, crying to and talking to. And the same thing when it came time for him to pick orders. You know, we talked about what the options were, and he got orders to Virginia. He got, you know, sent to a really nice base. He enjoyed his time in Virginia. And then, you know, our next assignment came up, and he actually volunteered to recruit. I will say that I did not follow him to his recruiting station, just because we talked about it and it wasn't what was best for us at the time. So it's not that, you know, I was like, oh no, the Army's, you know, sending us somewhere I don't want to go. It was, okay, let's think about this. I have a really good job in Virginia. And we made, you know, we talked about it, and we decided if I couldn't find an equal job where he is now, then I didn't really want to leave where I was at in Virginia without having something in his new station, because I enjoy I enjoy working. Like it's really weird, but I actually really enjoy like working. I enjoy doing things. Yes, Bubba.
Hey, Dad.
Go get it.
Mommy.
It fulfills me. Like I enjoy helping other people. The job that I'm in currently allows me to do that. I did fill out, you know, applications, because we have a son and now a daughter. And so it wasn't anything about like taking my son from him or not wanting to be with him. It was none of that. It was just that we had to, because of the Army, we had to talk through what would work best for us. And I think that that's important. You just have to be able to communicate. You have to be honest about what you want. You have to be honest about what will actually work for your marriage, because separation doesn't work for everyone's marriage. Some people get really used to, you know, being alone, and then when it comes time to bring your family back together, it's hard to navigate actually bringing the two households back together. But I think because when we first met, I was traveling a lot. Being apart hasn't actually been an issue for us. It actually brings us closer together, because we realize the things that the other person brings to the table. I tell my husband all the time, you know, that I miss him, because I realize that like when he does come home, he helps with the kids. So when he's not there and it's just me and the kids, I realize, okay, you know, my house feels different when he's not here. But when he's not there, I pick up and keep going, you know, because I have to. I have 2 children. I can't lay on the couch and, you know, be like, oh, why are we doing this? Why is this our life? I chose that. I knew I knew who he was and what he wanted to do. Okay, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Go play. Huh? I knew who he was and what he wanted to do when we got married. So it's not something where I can just be like, oh, now you need to stop trying to grow yourself because now I'm uncomfortable with the job that you have. That's not fair, because I would not want him to ask me to do that. I would want him to continue to support the things that are important to me. Now, if that's going to cause issues for our marriage, then that's something that we have to talk about. But I think to just tell someone, oh, what you want doesn't make me happy, so I don't want you to want it anymore. I don't think that's not fair to me, and I would never I would never ask him to halt progress in his career for me, because I don't want him to ever look back and say, oh, well, you know, my wife didn't want me to do that, so I didn't want to do it. No, that's not fair, because for me, I want to, there are things that I want to do, places that I want to go, things that I need to achieve for myself. And as long as it doesn't put us and our kids at risk, I think that my husband knows that there are just things that I have to do for myself. And like I said, he supports me. He supported me staying in Virginia so that I could progress in my career, and I've been promoted multiple times since he left. So I know that it's where I need to be at this time. With having 2 kids, I do hope that I do see in the future us being in the same place again. Tariq, what are you singing, buddy? Okay, you want to go get your remote? Okay, go get it. I know that we're going to be under the same roof again, just because it's going to like, we're a married couple. We're not going to stay separated for, like, we're not separated. We're not going to stay in separate places forever. And he's close enough that he can drive down to see us, which is nice. So it's not like we're going months without seeing each other. And then we keep functioning as a normal unit would. So I think that it's just about balance. It's about knowing who you are as an individual, and then knowing who you are in your marriage. I think it's about understanding that your spouse has a different type of job, but not looking at it as, woe is me, my spouse is in the military, because that's not fair to you or your spouse. And all you're going to end up doing is either leaving your marriage because you're unhappy with their job, or, I mean, them. If you're unhappy with them, that's a whole other thing. But if you're unhappy with their job and they had it when you met, it's not fair to think that they're just going to stop doing that job because you are now unhappy with it, especially if it's something that they enjoy and they like doing. And then the other thing is just like, you, as a married couple, you have to communicate no matter what. And I think you just have to be able to communicate a little bit more, and maybe a little more quickly, when you're a military family. And that's just because you're now at the needs of the military. I can only speak on the Army because I was in the Army. I have friends that were, you know, in the Navy and the Air Force and that type of thing. But I was in the Army, so I know that when until you get to a certain rank, and even then, you go where the Army wants you to go. And so when I was in, I got stationed, I did my basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and then I was stationed at Fort Bragg. And I traveled a lot from Fort Bragg. Like, I went to a lot of different places, but that's where I was stationed. I didn't get to choose that. I actually wanted to see a few other places before being stationed, but at that point in my life, I think I just needed to be I needed to remain a little bit closer to my family, just because I had a lot of growing to do. I went through a lot when I was stationed at Fort Bragg, and I think had I been too far away from my family, I would. Yes, buddy. It's on. Cars.
No.
I think had I been too far away, I would not have been able to be as strong as I was when I was going through those things. And then I also met my husband at Fort Bragg. So I think that when people ask me what it's like to be an Army wife, it's not. And again, I've never been like a regular, like, I've never been married to someone who wasn't in the Army. All right, so I don't actually remember what I was saying in the last clip. I had to stop recording because it got really loud in the house. Everybody came home and we just kind of hung out there. And then I had to come in here and feed Tayce. So I figured I would just finish up the vlog because it wasn't going to be that much longer. But I think that I was talking about communication. So in any marriage, especially a military family, it's important that you communicate, because you never know when that's all that you're going to have. Because with deployments and being sent TDY, that type of thing, moves happening, you never know when you're going to be so far apart that all that you're going to have is your words. So it's really important that early on in your relationship you learn how to communicate. And that's with, like I said, that's with any marriage, not just a military family. But it becomes more important to navigate the obstacles that are caused, not the obstacles, but to navigate the different type of pressure that's put on your relationship because of the military. And then finally, my marriage is, we are like, no, I don't think that I've ever met anyone who's like, yes, I have the perfect marriage. But you have a marriage that's perfect for you, if you're with the right person. So with that being said, it's really important that you recognize that there are going to be roadblocks, there are going to be arguments, there are going to be fights, there are going to be disagreements, there are going to be days when you just are like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? But those days aren't forever, especially if you're with the right person. So you're not always going to be it's not always going to be like, ha ha ha, I love you so much, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna have days where like the person's gonna do something that just makes you upset, and it makes you second guess everything that you've put into it. And if you never wake up from that feeling, then yes, maybe it's not the right place or the right person or the right time with that person. But if you all can talk about what caused that feeling and grow from it, or if you can say, okay, you know, I was just it was just a bad day for us, and then you move forward from it, then that's what keeps that's sort of what separates the men from the boys, per se. You have to be able to grow. You have to be willing to accept that things won't be perfect. You have to also be willing to recognize that you're wrong, like that you're both wrong sometimes. It's not always going to be the other person, and you can't always expect the other person to know exactly what you want if you haven't said what you want. No one's a mind, like that's not a realistic thing. When you get married, your brains don't connect and everyone just knows what everyone else wants. If that was the case, then no one would ever be with the wrong person, no one would ever be unhappy, everyone would be perfect. But I've found that I've had to admit that I'm wrong. Like, it's not always him, it's not always me, sometimes it's both of us, sometimes it is just one of us. But being able to just be an adult and say, hey, you know, I take the fault in this is what I could have done differently, instead of always saying, oh, you should have, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or you should be doing, you know, everything. It's about saying, you know, I realize that I could have done these things differently, and then the other person has to do the same thing. It can't always be pointing fingers or placing blame, because you'll never grow from that. You'll never learn anything if you're always blaming someone else for everything that's going wrong. So that's really important in a military family, is just being able to accept that you're wrong, and then just being there for the trip, like being there for the ride, and doing your part to make your marriage work is really important. Like I said, I don't feel any different being an Army wife, and I don't know if that is because I grew up around the Army. Like I was raised with a father who was in the Army, and then I joined the Army myself. So I don't know if that's why I feel a little bit different, because I have talked to other women and men who were not in the service, and it always breaks my heart when they say, you know, I just wish my husband or wife would get out, because I don't think that that's fair to their spouse. I understand that, you know, it's not for everyone. It's really not. You have to be really strong-minded and really able to be independent. If you are if you can't be by yourself ever, then maybe it's not, but that's something that you would have to work on. But I think that if you fall in love with someone, or you meet someone and fall in love and decide that being with them is what you want to do, and they're in the military, then it's just, you know, have open lines of communication, be willing to, you know, grow with them and grow on your own, and then look for the best in everything. When you're in the military, you have to go to these classes, and one of the exercises that they always talk about is hunting the good stuff. So even when you hate where you live, look for the good in that. Like, maybe you go make friends, maybe you join a pottery class, maybe you play on a basketball team, whatever it is. Just don't be negative about everything. That's not gonna get you where you want to be in anything, really. Anyway, I've been talking for much longer than I planned to talk, but I just wanted to address that because I'm asked that quite a bit, and I'm not really sure like what the answer is supposed to be. But to anyone who's out there that's dating someone in the military or is married to someone in the military, just it's tough for them too. Like, it's tough for the service member too, so it's not just tough for you. So you know, service members see things that other people don't have to see. Like, they deal with things that other people don't have to deal with. So just think about that. When you think about how tough it is for you, think about what it's like for them. And I think that might help with a little bit of perspective if you want to remain married, or if you want to work on your marriage. Just think about what they're going through as well as what you're going through, and then go from there. But anyway, like I said, I've been talking for much longer than I planned to be talking. This video is probably going to be out of order. I will probably put this one up tonight if I can get it edited. But yeah, I just wanted to address that, what it's like to be a military and an army wife. Even though I'm much more than that. I don't identify as an army wife. But the tiny one is crying, so that's my cue to get off. I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right